I mentioned to the crowd before we started here tonight that not long after you win a national championship, you're with a group of people, you're trying to put money together to put together a pizza chain, and the San Diego Chargers of the AFL come up for sale. You're 23 and hoping and close to buying an AFL franchise. I mean, that's mind-blowing to the average person.
It doesn't fit when you think about it, but it does fit if you can dream about it. And I basically had really sold myself. I had worked hard to get this group to finance me, to help me build these pizza parlors. And I was still in school at the time. And so I got them to help me build those parlors. And I said, if someday I'm going to maybe come to you and ask you to loan me money. At the end, I was making $1,000 a month draw against my sales. That was my salary at the time. And I said, someday I may come to you and talk to you about a ball team. And that someday came up right as I was talking to this particular group during that same period of time. And so I presented them the San Diego Chargers. I visited with many of the founders of the AFL. I'll never forget visiting with Mr. Lamar Hunt when I was like 22 years old. And Mr. Hunt said, boy, Jerry, you're so young to be sitting here and you must have done well. Well, I said, well, truly, Mr. Hunt, I haven't done. You can imagine.
You can actually say jack shit right now if you want to. Okay. I haven't done jack shit.
But the point is, I hadn't, and I knew he knew that I hadn't because they'd done a real good check on who I was. But Mr. Hunt and at the time, Mr. Baron Hilton said, you have them put $1 million letter of credit on my desk in Chicago, and we'll talk business. And we'll see if you're serious. Otherwise, I don't have time to mess with a tire kicker, so to speak, somebody that's just looking interested. Well, before the sun set the next day, as a matter of fact, bright and early the next morning, they had that $1 million letter of credit there, and the next thing I knew, my father was reading where I had an interest in buying the San Diego Chargers. And I'm telling you, he couldn't believe his ears. And when he got on the phone, he said, what is my millionaire son doing today, by the way? Is he too busy to talk to his old dad?
Well, how much
Would you get your ass back home here and tell me what you're doing? That was my dad talking to me.
How much of the million was yours?
Well, none of it was mine.
Okay.
Because I was born.
I just feel like it's important to establish that.
Well, no, thank you, Joe. And I'm going pretty fast here, but the facts are, my father basically said, Jerry, he said, this does not work. You don't have enough money to pay your bills, and you're going to start off underwater. I said, Dad, but it won't remain that way. I'll figure something out. And he said, well, right there is where we've got a parting of the ways. I said, you know, Dad, this is me. You're not involved here. You're not going to sign a note. You're not having to assure anybody I'm going to be paid. He looked over at me with tears in his eyes. I hope I don't tear up. But he looked over at me. He said, Jerry, he said, I don't want you to ever tell me that I don't have something invested in you. He said, you're a young man, and you've never stumped your toe. You've never failed. And you're talking about going in something that might do that for you. And he said, that's my blood that's going down if you go down. And he said, if you can't pay somebody, there's a good chance they may come calling on old Dad to pay. So don't tell me I don't have something invested here. Well, I did listen to it and turned that down at that time.
And what a blessing.
And as it turns out, I'm sitting here with the Dallas Cowboys rather than the San Diego Chargers. But still at the time, yeah.